What's up, everybody? It's Dis Thunder from the Whoosh, and we are here today to do a quick overview of the Mezco Toyz 112 Collective Cape Crusader Batman, which, if you missed out somehow, is a black and gray redeco of the Golden Age Batman we got beginning of the summer of this year. Contrary to conventional wisdom, I don't think it is possible to get too much of a good thing when you're talking about a sensible redeco like a black and gray Batman costume. What I find interesting about this one, though, is I could see where this figure falls into that ever so feared and coveted sleeper figure category. Because while obviously his styling is very Golden Age, and his proportions and even his head sculpts are the same as the Golden Age Batman, the black and gray deco makes him almost more what I would call a flashback Batman. Like in current continuity and current storytelling, when they look back at the Year One Batman or the Golden Age Batman, he looks like this, as opposed to how he actually looked, which is closer to the Golden Age Batman that we got. As such, I'm just going to kind of go over the accessories and the details briefly, because if you watch my earlier video, which was much longer, on the Golden Age Batman, you essentially know what you're getting at here. But if I had to put out a target for my audience for this particular video, that would be, if you bought this figure and you're not sure quite what you want to do with it, that's where I think I can help you out. We'll get into that a little closer to the end. So we'll come back to the cave here and we'll go over some of the finer point details, which of course will be the same as the previous release. He is 6.5 inches to the top of his ears. He comes with 5 interchangeable heads, that's 4 masked and 1 unmasked, and a removable cowpiece that you can put around his neck. 10 interchangeable hands, display stand, 3 batarangs, 2 bat rope, 2 bat bola, and a oxygen mask that will magnetically clip onto the stern or stoic faces, like so. One of the changes, of course, is they have gone from the red and slight silver detail of the previous one to a brushed metal look, and that carries over to the batarangs as well, as you can see here. And there is no change to the sculpt or the quantity or anything of the above. They are the exact same batarangs, just done in a new color. And actually, I kind of like this brushed silver color. It's more industrial, feels a little more, like I said, more of a flashback to the Golden Age than an actual Golden Age, if that makes sense. Put it another way, it's like taking the reds and blacks of the 66 series and revisiting it in like a gritty 80s filter. I don't know. As with the original figure, he has a light gray bodysuit with a pleather cape and pleather trunks. This time, of course, just done in black. That means it's the same cape with the 5-wire armature built into it, which is outstanding, as I gushed about before. One change from the solicit on this belt, which, by the way, the comm is still removable on. In the solicitation pictures, this belt looked to be kind of like a dull gold color. Ended up just being kind of a flatter, muted yellow, similar to the Golden Age release. Let me actually bring it in for comparison here, and you can see that it's just slightly duller in color than the original one. Not a bad thing, not really a make or break or anything, just something I want to point out. And to fulfill my action figure review requirements here, let's just go through the articulation. There are double knees, double elbows. He does not have a butterfly joint, but he has the dual ab joint, the upper torso and the lower. Ball jointed neck, although it is pegged in at the cape. Ball jointed hips, double knees, and that because of his skinnier legs, he actually gets a better bend than most Batman figures, and a pretty good ankle pivot inside that boot. At the risk of belaboring a point, let's bring them both in here side by side. You can see, yes, it's the exact same costume patterns, the exact same size body, exact same heads, belts, etc., just color swaps. It's kind of funny, though. Before I sat down to do the review, and even as I did my recording and now come back to do my voice work, I was certain the bodysuits were the exact same. But I have about convinced myself since then that the black and gray is slightly darker in suit color than the blue and gray. But I honestly don't know if that's an actual thing or if it's just a trick of reflection of light because the blue and gray is lighter and obviously it makes the whole costume appear lighter. I honestly don't know. But if I had to put $5 on it, I'm going to say that one on the left is slightly darker than the one on the right. And to that end, I think if I were the Mezco marketing guys, I would have named this release the Batman Noir Edition instead of Cape Crusader, because obviously the guy in the blue and gray is the Cape Crusader. With the formal part of the review out of the way, let's get back to what I said earlier about being kind of a targeted review. Because if you feel like this figure is surplus to requirements and you don't need another Golden Age Batman or one at all, let me tell you, this guy is an excellent candidate for head swaps, with maybe a little bit of effort. In my original review, I mentioned that the neck peg on this figure is not compatible with previous Batman figures, but as you can see, the proportions in that I think work very well for a younger Batman with the Ascending Knight head, even maybe better than the factory heads that it came with. There's a couple ways around this naturally. We can just put blue tack in the alternate heads, at which point there's really no limits. You can make him a year one Batfleck if you want to. Somehow I doubt that's what most people are thinking of though, so let's try something a little bit more commonplace like the Sovereign Knight head. If one were so inclined, I think that kind of gives off a sort of modern or hush look, but I don't think the body's exactly right for that. Although I have to say it does look better if I take the neck cowl piece off. He has more neck that way. At this point, you would probably just want to change to a pocketed belt and you're in business. This one actually surprised me quite a bit. The Ascending Knight masked Batman head has actually got me almost changing course on this figure. I like how this looks a lot. It's almost Dave Mazzucchelli or even Paul Pope with that rangy athletic build. We'll come back to this one in a minute. But my plan since the jump was to put a certain DC Collectibles head on top of this figure, and that is, of course, the Darwin Cook New Frontier. And to do that, I actually just modified the peg hole inside the head, so no mod to the figure at all, just the head itself, and I think it looks spectacular. Now, initially, I'd actually plan on changing his belt out as well. It's actually very easy to do on this figure. There's a peg right underneath that pouch right there that you can slide it off with minimal effort. Just kind of pull right there. I ended up deciding against it though, just because I like how clean this look is from the factory, and it's still appropriate for the Darwin Cook costume. But that does open up some possibilities for some other belt swaps, if one were so inclined. And that was about where this video was going to end. I got to breathe life back into an old DC Collectibles head sculpt that still really stands up. I got to give a really good Mezco figure a renewed purpose on my shelf and fill a void I've had since 112 Collective started. Hats off to Mezco. Good job, and good job me for keeping old figures around, and we'll call it a day, right? But I'm not gonna lie to you. That damn Ascending Knight Batman head was nagging at me. And it bothered me enough that about 3 days after I got this figure, I had to go back and I had to go buy another one. And though you can probably guess, I guess we can go through what happened next. Okay, don't mind my mess here, but what we're going to do is we're going to change out that neck peg, and by doing that, with one of these guys, these came from Action Figure Customs, by the way. I'll put the link below here somewhere. We're going to make this Batman compatible with any of the previous head sculpts, like that one, that we want to use. We're going to do that by heating this thing up on medium with a hairdryer, so we can put this neck peg in place of that neck peg without damaging anything. And since we've already got him warm, we're going to come back here and just very easily unpeg that belt, just like where I showed you. See that? Nothing to it. And so with those two relatively easy steps, we have an Ascending Knight Cape Crusader hybrid you can swap heads on whenever you feel like it. And that's how we take a Bat variant that folks are maybe a little bit lukewarm on and make two very essential and distinct year one variants to put into my collection and maybe also yours too. The best part is these mods are reversible, so at any time you can pop the head back off, switch the belts, and you're right back to the original Cape Crusader if you so choose. This seems like kind of a dumb thing to break down a review video for, but I wanted to share it. I'm hoping maybe that'll give you guys some extra enjoyment for this figure if you were trying to figure out a home for it. But either way, big thanks to Mezco for helping me get my figure. Thanks to you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.